Jerry Agar for Ezra Levant. He's working on a book. He'll be back with you soon. People often accuse me of being angry on the radio and sometimes on TV. I always reply, I'm not angry, I'm passionate. Well, Friday and all weekend I was angry, and to some degree I still am. On top of the sorrow and pain any decent human being would feel for the victims of the school shooting last Friday, I was horrified by those people who immediately, before very many details emerged, trotted out their political agendas and soaked them in the blood of those innocent children. Of course, there were those gun enthusiasts who couldn't wait to lobby for armed teachers in the schools, but those people were largely drowned out by the anti-gun zealots screaming about guns from uneducated positions on statistics and the U.S. Constitution, along with ugly anti-Americanism born of more self-satisfied ignorance. Let's take the issue heard so often across this country all weekend. Thank God we're so much better with our gun control and sensible attitude in Canada. On May 28, 1975, the Brampton Centennial Secondary School massacre occurred in Brampton, Ontario. 16-year-old gunman Michael Slobodian shot and killed a fellow student and a teacher. Including those two deaths and the Polytechnic shootings, Canada has had 26 deaths from school shootings since 1975, not including the death of the shooter. According to the best figures I can find, including the victims last Friday, the USA has had about 260 deaths as a result of school shootings, not including the death of the shooter. Our population is 10% of theirs, so since violent crimes are measured on a per capita basis, if we multiply our death toll by 10, we're no better than America, despite our tougher gun laws. So it angered me to hear and see so many Canadians ignorantly knee-jerking into their treasured anti-American agenda over the still bleeding bodies of precious kindergarten children. The shooter had tried but was unable, due to Connecticut's gun control laws, to buy guns. He took his mother's weapons and she became one of the victims. The guns she owned were legal and would be legal and available in Canada, according to reports. Yet headlines, newscasts, talk shows, and Twitter screamed the fact that there are nearly 300 million guns in the USA. Well, so what? Of nearly 300 million, 2 or 3 were used in the shootings, yet the hysterical blamed the gun. That sort of ratio, used to prove some sort of cause and effect, would be laughable if it were any object other than a gun. But of course, those sort of scaremongering political agendas are so much more successful when soaked in the warm blood of children. People around the world were shocked by the utter senselessness of the violence. To react is only human, but to make it political so immediately was ugly and wrong. One person who got the tone right at the start, was President Obama.
The majority of those who died today were children. Beautiful little kids between the ages of 5 and 10 years old. They had their entire lives ahead of them. Birthdays, graduations, weddings, kids of their own. Among the fallen were also teachers, men and women who devoted their lives to helping our children fulfill their dreams. So our hearts are broken today for the parents and grandparents, sisters and brothers of these little children, and for the families of the adults who were lost.
Obama was right at the moment, because at the moment he was as much a father as a leader. I understood his emotional reaction. It's not often that we see a world leader cry, and on this day, we needed to. He'll get political on this issue soon, and he and I may not agree, but Friday he was right, and the screeching anti-gun lobby was wrong. What the president said was measured and thoughtful. He specifically didn't start talking about gun control or banning certain weapons. It was too soon for that conversation. We didn't have a complete picture of what exactly had unfolded. Of course, this didn't last. Obama was jumping into the gun control last night at a vigil in Newtown, but more on that later. Before the bullet-riddled bodies of the 20 innocent children were moved from their blood-spattered schoolrooms, before any facts at all were really known, those with a visceral hatred of all guns began their calls for the immediate action. Piers Morgan, CNN's evening talk show host, took to Twitter immediately. "I want justice for these children, justice for their parents. Don't stand for this madness anymore, America. Time to act. Gun control now." So the night of the shooting at 9 p.m., Morgan took to the air to debate gun control. It didn't matter that many of the facts initially reported on the show we now know were wrong. Facts don't matter. Guns are bad. That's the only problem, according to zealots like Morgan. Tammy Bruce was correct, by the way, when she dared Morgan to give up his armed CNN security before scolding everyone else. That goes for any celebrity gun banning advocate as well. Locally, in Canada, a Toronto city councillor took to Twitter to push for more controls in Canada. Friday evening, she wrote, "Listening to Canadian politicians who never stood up for gun control offer their condolences to the people of Newtown makes me sick." Well, yes, condolences are so off-putting when there's political opportunity in the air and blood on the floor. Isn't that right, councillor? Again, facts and feelings don't matter when they might interfere with the agendas of those involved. Matter more. On Facebook and Twitter, I've seen calls for more mental health funding, banning guns, criticism of a belief in God, and even some blaming video games and movies. Expert guests are being trotted out in front of the cameras trying to explain this madness. Everyone wants answers, most preferably easy answers. Last week on the show, I talked about how it was exactly this type of ignorant, emotional zeal that led to the failed long gun registry. Groups playing off the emotion of the murder of 14 women at Polytechnique in Quebec were able to assist politicians and activists who desire gun control regardless of its effectiveness to bring in the long gun registry. But emotion rarely brings good law, and that law failed. The RCMP admitted they had no idea how many guns were unregistered. There's no actual proof any crimes or shootings were avoided, and the cost was hugely out of control and irresponsible. Even Justin Trudeau had to admit it was a failed program. Something has gone hugely wrong before an individual picks up a gun with the intent to kill innocent people. Can we address that, and do we care about the people so lost that they would do such a thing? The reality is, this is a complex problem with many moving parts. Taking action on any one thing won't immediately resolve it, and making policy decisions before the bodies of a massacre are cold is foolhardy and uncaring. Let's calm down, get the facts, and see whether we can figure out what might help.